Hello and welcome to the Watering Hole. Thanks for checking out this clip. Don't forget to like and subscribe because that'll make the baby Jesus cry, and I know how much you guys love making the baby Jesus cry. Yeah, so a lot of bad implications here leading us into our next news story, which is who exactly is running the government? Because the thing is, when Trump was asked about this, in any other administration, if there was a breach this serious, the chief of staff...
take responsibility.
Not even would you take responsibility, but the chief of staff would know, or would make sure that the president knows about this happening before the press have a chance to ask him questions about it. So the fact that... like his reaction when he was asked about it was, I don't know anything about it. I'm not a big fan of The Atlantic. To me, it's a magazine that's going out of business. I think it's not much of a magazine, but I know nothing about it. So, like, he doubled down on not knowing what the fuck is going on in his own cabinet.
Yeah, I feel like that's not a thing you should be proud of as a United States
in any other administration, the chief of staff would make sure that the president knows what happened before reporters have a chance to ask him about it. So to have a president up there being like, "Oh, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what happened," that calls into question, like, are you actually the president, or are you just letting other people run it? And I think we all know the answer to that. He just doesn't want to go to jail, and he wants to be giving speeches in front of people that applaud him.
Yeah.
That's all he really wants. So...
I think his plan is to die while president, because then he never has to go to jail.
Yeah, but he wants that to be longer than 4 years.
I mean, did you see Steve Bannon on that?
Not recently, but I am aware of certain things that Steve Bannon has said about that.
So, very recently... Steve Bannon was being interviewed on Fox News, and he said that a man like Trump comes around only once every few hundred years. While we have him, I want us to use him and rally behind him for as long as we can. So I'm here for Trump, even past 2028. And so Fox News host goes, "Now, I know you're a smart person, and most people wouldn't give you this benefit of the doubt here, but because I know you're a smart person, Bannon, you do know that this is Trump's second term, right?" And Bannon goes, "Oh, I know. We're working on that."
Mm-hmm.
And when the Fox News host asks him to clarify that, he's like, "You can't just leave us hanging on that." And he goes, "So I can't actually tell you what our plans are, but let's just say that we're thinking of a few workarounds to that."
Yeah, and there wasn't there.
That's fucking scary.
It is. Yep. And this is why, like, I think this is why people like us are always talking about, like, oh, if there are elections in 2026 and 2028, because the people on the other side seem kind of dead set on them not happening.
I think the plan, if I were to use the information that I have available and not springboard off of anything, I think the plan would be to emulate what the Chinese Communist Party and what Putin have been doing for years.
What? Trump wants to imitate Putin?
And in those countries, what they do is they have faux elections. And we know they have faux elections.
Yeah.
They have elections where they have a democracy where people are able to voice their vote. But the side effect of a significant amount of the populace voting a particular way is very, very bad. And again, I'm saying that I am operating off of information that is known. I'm not making any logical leaps. I'm just going to use examples that have happened within Trump's own presidency. When he did not win the first time, an assault on the Capitol happened with deaths.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not using any extra information. We know Trump likes Russia. We know that he is on better terms with Russia than most of our U.S. presidents have been.
He's on better terms with Russia than he is with U.S. senators.
We know that Trump also speaks very, very highly of dictators in Turkey and other nations. We know that this is a very common thing that he does. So you take that information, you take the January 6th riot, the fact that it happened, the fact that it took him being convinced by several people to actually calm the rioters down. You take that information and you have, okay, January 6th is as close to an emulation of the type of power that Trump would like to have. All he needs is the ability to have more power. I guarantee you, if a January 6th style insurrection were to happen again in Trump's presidency, it would be successful this time.
Oh, see, I was thinking the other way. If the Democrats pulled off their own January 6th, if he tries to go in for a third term, he would use that as the excuse to go in for a third term. Like, oh, I need to declare martial law now because of you terrorists.
Like, don't get me wrong, oh, that's terrifying. Actually, you now this is where I start working with unknown information. This is where things get a little more spooky. But this is also further divorced from reality. That's the nature of unknown information. However, it is known that one of the ways you can extend a presidency is if we are in all-out warfare. You can extend a presidency artificially by a president being in there. It was one of the conspiracy theories that the right wing used for Obama for years. If you remember the right wing talking points of he's going to enact martial law so that he can be a dictator forever. Mm-hmm. That's the thing he's going to do. If we use our known information, theoretical information, that a lot of what Republicans blame the left on for doing is projection. And this is true of most people in politics in general. But if we use that information, we know that the idea of utilizing a martial law or an all-out war or anything like that can be utilized to extend a presidency artificially. We know that they have thought about their enemies doing it, and we know that they've tried to do an insurrection. What would happen if, say, the United States were to do things, again, known information, were to try to invade Denmark, were to try to invade Canada, were to try to get heavily involved in a conflict that would cause the entire world to come crashing down on it, but would allow a presidency to extend. And again, we're not working with unknown information for this part. The leap is for the purpose of extending the presidency, though with Bannon's words, maybe that's not as much of a leap. It's a very scary line of thought when you consider that Trump has actively argued we should be invading Canada.
Yeah, but I mean, it's the thing that, like, with Trump not actually being in charge, he also has to get his cronies to, like, all agree on a plan, and that has often been his downfall, is that the cronies have different ideas about what to do, and so it doesn't actually happen effectively.
Thank you for the hydrate, Lamor Pinku. Yeah, I agree with that. That's why there's still a level of logical leap here, because, like, for all of those...
To be clear, I am not putting any eggs in the basket of there are adults in the room that will stop things from going too far. It is that the children in the room want to go too far in different directions, and it'll only work if they all go in the same direction.
That is very, very fair. I guess for me, it is less of a logical leap if you assume that Trump has perfect control over everything, because at that point he can just make things happen the way that he wants. But if you've heard the recent information that documents have had to be simplified for him,
I have not, but that does not surprise me.
It leads me to believe that there's not a whole lot of Trump there in the brain to do these 4D chess decisions. And again,
there hasn't been, like, that's been the case for a while.
It's been the case for a while, but Trump being a master of 4D chess has been a talking point of the right for years. This has been a very common thing that has been used on Chan boards, that has been used in forums, that has been used on Discord servers, that has been used in private chat groups, and of course has been said by people like Tim Pool and people who are in the... It's hard to say the fringe media, because, like, YouTube's made a lot of fringe media not fringe anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But it's been a very common talking point.